I'm an autism awareness angel, making sure my wings protect the different, the stranger than. I'm an autism awareness angel. It's good, cause I'm cool with the unique behavior. I'm an autism awareness angel. Will you accept me? Cause I accept you. I'm an autism awareness angel, cause a view from the spectrum is a better point of view. The question at hand, are you aware?
Hello, I'm Tally, and welcome back to Autism 30. Today, we are speaking with Miss Laurie Mawlam, Executive Director at Autism Canada, and are recording this interview at the beautiful PAFN's Good Life Fitness Hub in Richmond, British Columbia, Canada. Laurie started her career in autism as the Executive Director of Autism Canada Foundation, then continued in this position when Autism Canada Foundation amalgamated with Autism Society Canada in 2015. She has participated in Senate and House of Commons committee hearings, has sat on the National Autism Surveillance System Advisory Committee since inception. Today, she leads the organization with renewed devotion and hope for individuals and families living with autism as she continues to advocate passionately for a national autism strategy. Laurie is the proud mother of 3 boys, one of which was diagnosed with autism in July 2000. She left the corporate world to oversee her son's home-based behavioral and educational program for 3 years. Her son has achieved an optimal outcome and now attends university. Welcome, Laurie.
Thank you for having me, Tally.
It's our pleasure, and I'm so happy you could be here today. Now, what is the history of Autism Canada?
Well, Autism Canada was established in 1976 by parents with children on the spectrum. But in 2015, Autism Society Canada and Autism Canada Foundation amalgamated. And with that amalgamation came a rebrand where we launched a new logo and a new tagline, which is See the Spectrum Differently.
Nice tagline.
Today, Autism Canada is the only autism advocacy organization with a national perspective on the issues currently facing those with ASD, their families, and other stakeholders.
Which is fantastic, and that's something that I've always advocated in this podcast, where we really do need more help nationally in the way of autism, and so happy that you're actually facilitating this happening. Now, what is the philosophy of Autism Canada?
Well, our philosophy is we want to see all Canadians on the spectrum live full, healthy, and happy lives, and all of our initiatives are focused on that mandate.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned initiatives. What are your national initiatives and programs?
Well, I'll just mention a few, and I'll start with the Family Support and Resource Program. This is where we take calls and emails from everyone, and we help direct the caller to resources and services that they need if they exist, because we certainly know that we don't have everything in place that we need.
That's very true. And you want to know what? That's really good, because I know a lot of parents, when they first receive the diagnosis, are completely at a loss for what is available out there. And that's really good that there is a contact point where anyone in the country can actually call you and access a reaching hand for help.
That's right. We also have a national event calendar online, and that's where you can find opportunities to get training, attend workshops, symposiums, and conferences. And what we do with that national event calendar is we put into our newsletter those events.
Which is really good. Now, your events calendar, I'm assuming, are not only for professionals in the industry, but also parents alike, and any caregiver that is looking after or involved with people with autism.
Mm-hmm. And certainly some of the events that are there are people on the spectrum doing presentations to inspire others.
Absolutely. And I think, and I've often said repeatedly that that I love doing podcasts with our community members, because it clearly gives a message that our community members are a gift to society, and it's really good that they're reflected in your organization. Are there any other programs or initiatives that you have?
We also do conferences.
Yes.
We do 2-day conferences where we have many topics addressed by different, it could be a researcher, could be a clinician, could be a parent, could be someone on the spectrum. And we have also awesome conferences which are totally planned and organized by people on the spectrum, and all the presenters are on the spectrum. So years ago, we realized that that's great if it's in your community, but we're a national organization. So in 2009, we started recording these and putting them online so that all Canadians had access.
And that's wonderful, because I know a common concern is when people are diagnosed in remote areas of Canada and aren't necessarily located in the big cities to have access to more information. You really do give people in remote areas, and not only cities, more access to information about autism.
That's right, we do.
And also, you have something called Autism Junction. What is that?
Well, Autism Junction is Canada's largest directory for autism services, and you can search via your location by using your postal code.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm assuming people can go to your online website and they can put in their postal code and gain access to all the individual and particular specialized services that are really located for them.
That's correct.
That's fantastic information to know. And what kinds of information can people find through this directory?
Well, there's lots of categories, from a dentist to behavioral services, camps and recreational opportunities, private schools, residential facilities, and the list goes on and on.
That sounds fantastic. So when you're actually searching through your site, it's not only therapy or a community group, you're really accessing all services for all aspects of life. Like you mentioned, dentists and whatnot. People who are typical might not think that these services need to be specialized or can be specialized for our community members because of certain issues that may arise. But it's really good that you have a directory of those that can make life easier for our community members.
That's correct. And we welcome new service providers to add their name to our Autism Junction as well.
That's fantastic. So I'm assuming if new ventures want to include their names, they can contact you via your website?
That's correct.
That's wonderful. And their website, as usual, will be on our website at autism30.com. Now, you also have something called screening tool. Now, what is a screening tool and why is that so important?
Well, screening tools are designed to help identify people of all ages who might have developmental delays. Now, screening tools do not provide conclusive evidence of developmental delays and do not result in a diagnosis.
Which is really important to state.
A positive screening result should be followed up with a healthcare provider. So what it is an opportunity for you to say, I've done this online screening tool. I would like to take this further. Can I have a diagnostic assessment, please?
Which I think is really important, because I know one of the reasons why autism often goes unidentified is because parents don't really recognize the signs early on, or they might miss it. So if they educate themselves through your site, then they'll be better prepared to see those signs earlier on, because they do say that early identification can get an early diagnosis, which the earlier you start, the better outcome for everyone involved. Is that accurate?
Yes, and I think it's positive that you have the diagnosis, because then you can go looking for information. And I always say, knowledge is power. Everyone should be able to make an informed choice.
Absolutely, and I couldn't have said it any better myself. Now, why is it important to inform yourself about the signs of autism?
As you said, Tally, an early diagnosis means you can have early intervention and supports in place.
In what way do you educate our community members and their families about autism?
Well, Autism Canada has one of the most robust websites in Canada. We have 350 pages of autism information, resources, and intervention therapies, etc., in both French and English. We are also on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Vimeo, and YouTube.
And that's great. And to remind our audience, all of those contact details will be on our website at autism30.com.
So we educate the community through our conferences that we do, and we put them online, as I mentioned before. We have over 95 videos on Vimeo right now in a number of different categories, depending upon what sort of information you're looking for. We also have our physician handbook, which we have distributed over 5,000 copies to date.
That's wonderful.
We have a Words Matter guide that we had the adults on the spectrum that are part of our adult advisory group work very hard on. And it is a work in progress because language does change, but it's a great start on words do matter.
And can you explain to our audience, and I agree with you, why words do matter?
Well, words can be hurtful and offensive and condescending. So what we want to do is be more respectful to others. And
absolutely. And I know currently in our community, I mean, the talk is of a very politically correct language. And a politically correct language can actually ease the misinformation that happens between people and to better have our communities live in a safe, supportive environment. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
And why is national awareness so important, and how are you facilitating this happening?
Well, I'll tell you, for the last 2 years during October, which is Autism Awareness Month,
yes,
we've adopted Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. And we do a lot of initiatives. One of the things we're doing right now is we're going into the schools and doing presentations. We also have a Facebook profile picture that you can add for the month of October.
That's great.
We have our I'm an Awesome limited edition See the Spectrum Differently t-shirt campaign that just finished up. So we're on social media with Autism Facts every day. So, you know, there's lots going on throughout October for Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month.
And that's great. And if any of you are interested for next October, please keep your eyes and ears open for Autism Canada on that. And I also believe that it's really important for everyone to become aware of autism awareness, because I know I'm a parent and I know that I'm in the community every day like other parents are or other caregivers. And there's a lot of myths and misconceptions about autism, and I'm a strong believer that if everybody actually had awareness about autism, not only would it make our community members' lives easier, but parents and their families, it would ease a lot of tension out in the community that or miscommunication that often exists. Is that accurate?
Oh, it is accurate.
What research information can you offer our community?
If you go online, Autism Canada has web pages on research, and we also have videos on research, and they cover a lot of different topics from genetics to microbiome, mitochondrial functioning, immune dysregulation, environmental risk factors. So depending upon what you're looking for, there's something there for sure.
And what I find amazing is that, I mean, my son isn't 20 years old yet, and I know that the time that he's been part of this community, there's been so much information every single year that's coming out. So the information and research is ongoing. I know you're a parent like myself. Do you find that to be accurate as well?
Oh, absolutely. There's different research articles published daily.
And I think it's really important that we keep on top of that. And I think it's excellent that your webpage and research is completely ongoing. So it's not a static site. It's a site that's continually ongoing to inform the nation of Canada about the latest research and development with autism, which is wonderful. And you have a wonderful collection of videos to help. Can you explain what it is and why you created it? I know you've mentioned it before, but can you get into the specifics of what that is?
So Autism Canada had been doing conferences since 2003, and it became really obvious as a national organization we weren't hitting most Canadians.
Yes.
So in 2009, we decided to start recording them and putting them online, and we've been doing them ever since. So you can archive these presentations by year,
yes,
or by subjects. So some of the subjects would be advocacy, supports and programs, behavioral therapies, biomedical therapies, and presentations by adults on the spectrum and research.
Well, that's wonderful. So, any of you out there that are interested in accessing information that are in an area where you think there's just no possible way I can get access to these services, you can go on the Autism Canada site to find wonderful information that will be able to help you. And how do you help people across Canada, considering you are located in Ontario? I know you mentioned your videos that anybody can have access to. But what other areas?
Well, we take calls from across Canada with our toll-free number, and we respond to emails that we get from across Canada. People access our online resources, which we've already talked about, or they attend one of our conferences or watch it online. Like just last year, we were in the Yukon. So we do try to switch it around. So if anyone's interested in collaborating with Autism Canada, I encourage you to reach out.
Now, you mentioned conferences. Do you have them annually, and how do you sign up for them?
We try to have our conferences annually. We have the 2-day conference that I mentioned, which if you follow us on social media or you just check into our website, we'll have them posted there. We are planning an awesome conference and a 2-day conference, but we are not releasing the information as of yet until we have things finalized.
So people will stay tuned to find out more information about those, which is really good. So just to let you know that they have conferences and more information that they're delivering to our community on an annual basis. Now, you mentioned a newsletter. How do you subscribe to that?
If you go to Autism Canada's homepage, which is autismcanada.org, you can subscribe right there, and we will mail you your email newsletter every Tuesday, and we release it typically at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, wow. That's really specific and really good to know. So you can keep that in your calendar, and I hope you all sign up. Now, if someone wants to get involved with Autism Canada, how can they, and in what capacity?
Well, we encourage you to consider hosting a fundraising event for us, whether it's in a workplace, school, or community. We have a lot of resources online to support you in doing so. We have an A to Z fundraising idea guide. We have plan your own event guide. We have a media guide, a tax receipting guide, and of course you need to fill in an event proposal form. So everything is there in one location so that you can host an event.
And one of the things that I like is that, keep in mind, this is a Canadian site, which is important for us Canadians to support national and Canadian initiatives in autism, which is great that you offer that.
I also encourage adults on the spectrum to join our ASD Advisory Committee. There's always opportunities for adults on the spectrum to be heard, whether it be through examples of Minister Qualtroux's accessibility legislation to our Words Matter guide. I can tell you that every page on our website, our physician handbook, anything we produce is always reviewed by an adult on the spectrum for feedback. So there's always an opportunity.
And that's wonderful.
We also have something called ASD Central and Frank Autism, which are closed Facebook groups just for adults on the spectrum. They're inspirational. The adult community comes together to support each other, answer questions, give suggestions. So if you are an adult on the spectrum, I really recommend you consider joining one of the two, the French and the English closed Facebook page.
And that's really good to know. And I think it's really important for our community members to be involved and to be the voice leading us forward. So I thank you for that invitation. And what success stories do you have to share with our audience?
Well, I brought a specific example. For the month of October, Chantal, who works for Autism Canada, is doing presentations in schools. And after a presentation she did on October 17th of this year, a wonderful email was received by us from the school. And I just wanted to read a little part of it. My staff said nothing but amazing in capital letters things about your presentation today. Many of their students commented on how they, quote, never knew how difficult it was to live with autism, end of quote. Others apologized to one particular student, and she cried tears of joy. Wow, in capital letters. I'm getting goosebumps as I write this. Thank you, in capital letters, for being at our school today. Clearly, you've made an impact on our student body. Our children and youth worker has offered to visit some classrooms as a follow-up because students wish to continue the dialogue and the learning. Awesome. With gratitude. And the teacher has signed off.
That's so heartwarming. That's lovely. And it's really wonderful that you're making a difference in the classroom, and that leads into other aspects of society. That's lovely. And is there anything else you'd like to mention to our audience that you haven't yet done so?
Yes, Autism Canada has Imagine Canada Standards Accreditation, which means we've demonstrated excellence in 5 areas.
Wonderful. Can you read those out?
Yeah, these 5 areas are board governance, financial accountability and transparency, fundraising, staff management, and volunteer involvement.
That's wonderful, and that's a real nice goal to have achieved.
Yes, actually, we're the only autism organization in Canada that has. So it tells your donors, it tells potential new directors and
Yes.
staff that we have our ship in order.
The team at Autism 30 would like to congratulate you on that wonderful accomplishment.
Thank you very much.
And it's obvious that you're passionate about helping our community members with everything that you've done, but what specifically do you love about your job?
Well, I love a lot of things about my job, but what is really special to me is when I get an opportunity to speak to a mom or dad. And that doesn't happen as often as it used to years ago, but they're special moments because I've lived it. And I'm doing this, I call it pay it forward. I'm doing this so that the journey's easier for the next mom or dad.
And I can completely relate to it. It's the reason why I started this podcast, because I wish there was information like this out there that I would have appreciated. So I can completely agree with what you're saying. And it's really obvious that you're passionate about what you're doing, and the smile on your face and the joy you have when speaking about Autism Canada. For those of you that cannot see it, it's just wonderful to see. And it's also a gift to our community when we have people like you that are completely dedicated to helping. And finally, a question that I ask all our guests is, what would you like the world to know about autism?
Well, my message would be everyone, whether you are on the spectrum or not, is doing the best they can do. But on a regular basis, we ask people on the spectrum to step out of their comfort zone.
Yes.
Or exist in an environment that might be overwhelming. So I'd like to challenge those not on the spectrum, not to judge, and step out of your comfort zone and befriend someone on the spectrum.
What fantastic advice. That's fantastic, and I think that's a goal for anyone out there listening. And I think that's a nice way to conclude the interview. So I thank you so much, Laurie, for joining us today and explaining to our audience what Autism Canada is all about.
Thanks for having me, Tally.
Oh, you're very welcome. If you would like to contact Laurie or Autism Canada, you can do so by going to our website at autism30.com and find their contact details there, as well as all their social media sites. And if you're listening to Autism 30 on iTunes, please don't forget to click and write a review. This allows parents and other people out there looking for autism information to have easier access to our site, because this keeps our site current. Once again, this is Tally telling you to live in love.
Hey yo, I'm an autism awareness angel, making sure my wings protect the different, the stranger than. I'm an autism awareness angel. It's good.